Welcome back to Freezer Tech. This tutorial is a continuation of our Python series that we have started earlier. In this tutorial we'll be going over files in Python. Okay, so most of the time when you're working with programs, you need files to store some of your data or to pull data from certain files. So it's very important that we learn how to work with files in Python. Okay, so let's get started. To work with files in Python, we need to open the files. So to open the files, we need to open the files to read content out and be able to close those files or those that resource file. Okay, or maintain a log file that we to store log error information or other things like that. So to do this, we usually use the following modes in Python. So there is the R mode, which stands for the read mode, the A mode, which stands for the append mode. The append mode is used to add text to an existing file. So there's also there is the write mode, the stands for W. So the write mode is used to read to write content rather to a file. Okay, there is the X mode, is to create the file if the file does not exist, and will throw an error if the file exists. So you can use this to create to check if a file exists. If it does not exist, you create a file, but you need to handle that error using a try and except block, which we discussed earlier in this series. There is also the T mode, which is for the text mode, and also there is a binary mode. Binary mode like for binary data, and text mode is for normal text data. By default, if you didn't specify the mode in which you want to open the file, Python will open the file in the RT mode. RT mode is a combination of read mode and text mode, which stands for basically read text. Okay, so if you use WT, write text. If you use the AT, append text. Okay, there's also binary. So if you use RB, read binary, WB, write binary, AB, append binary. Okay, so I hope you understand. It might be confused right now, but if we go into depth and see in more practicality, it's much easier to understand. So I've opened up my Visual Studio Code over here, so I'll just close this palette. So to open a file in Python, first you need to give a variable that you can use an identifier that you can use to identify that file. So I'll just say f equals to, we say the open word, and then in here we type in a string. Okay, that string is the file name that you want to work with. So file, I'll call it file1.txt. it must have the extension. Okay, so now I'll just open back I'll open back my palette over here. So you can see currently we have no file called file1. So if I run this code, I did not specify the mode, because in here we keep a comma and then we specify the mode in which you want to open the file, which is also a string, but I didn't specify the mode. So if I told you earlier, if you didn't specify the mode, by default the mode is an RT mode, which is write a text mode. So now if I run this, just keep an eye over here and then see what is going to happen. There is no such file as tx, so we get an error that the file that we want to open doesn't exist. So to make this file exist, we need to use, because we're trying to read data from a file that doesn't exist, so a Python is throwing at us an error. So to create the file, we can do this. We can say write t mode, which is going to write text. Okay, so if you run this, okay, look here, you see we get a file called f1, which is the file that we have created. So you can use wt to write a file. So run this program in wt when you're trying to write a file, you're trying to write content to a file that does not exist. So Python will check the directory to see if that file exists. Okay, so if the file doesn't exist, it will create that file for you. Now the other thing we can use, I told you about the X mode. Now X mode is also used to create a file. So let me run this. You see this will get an error because that file already exists, as Python tells us here that the file exists. So I have told you that this will create the file if the file does not exist, and will throw at us an error if the file already exists. So if I change this to tick file2 and I run this, so when I use the X mode, it sees the file doesn't exist and it creates it for us, so we get it here. But if the file already exists, we get an error. Okay, so now let's move on. let me delete this file. Let's work with the first one that we created. So now let's move on to the WT mode. So the WT mode is simply write text. So we're going to say f dot write, because we have opened it in write mode. Write, we want to write inside of this file hello world. So if I close this and run, before that, you see this file, it contains no content. So let me run this application program, rather it executes without giving us any error. So now let me open my file, and you can see in there we have hello world. Okay, so now let me run again this application the second time. Now what do you think will happen? Do you think it's going to add another hello world to the file? So let me run this again. It executed. Let's check what is now inside of our file. So now you can see we still have the same content hello world. Okay, there's nothing new added to it, because this write mode will clear the file if the file has already existing content. So for example, let's say hello world, this is from Frizo Tech. Okay, so now let's run this application. Currently it has just hello world. Now let's run this application program, rather it executed without error. So now if I open this file, what you will find in this file is this content. The previous hello world is removed out. Okay, so what the write method does is that it clears the file of any content before it writes new content inside. So if I come in here and just type in this is awesome, and I save this and I run this program again, we get no error. So if I open up this file, we see hello world from Frizo Tech. So you see that the previous content has been deleted. So this is one of the ways of working with the write mode. Now what if you want to just add a new you want to add new text to an already existing text? Okay, so do this? We use the append mode. So we are going to append text. Okay, append TAT, which is append text. So now let me just remove hello, and then I'll come in here, I'll just leave hello. Okay, I'll save this one, and then I'll save also this, and then I'll run it. So what this is going to do is going to add this is from Frizo to hello world, which already existed in our file. So this is the append mode. Okay, I hope you understand. So now there are different other modes that we discussed. We have talked about the X mode and how to, so this is how we create a file and add content to the file. Also we have talked about how to append content to the file. Now let's see how we can read content from an already existing file. So to read content, we just say RT means read text, because the content of this file is a text, so we want to read out that text. So you can say file underscore content equals to f dot read. So read, it takes in a buffer of how many bytes that you want to read at a time. But if you didn't specify that buffer or the limit of that, the amount of data that you want to read, it's going to read all the content out. So let me just print file content. So if I run this, let's see what we get. So we get hello world. This is from Frizo over here, and this is the content of this file. So that's how you can read content from a file that you create. So we can let's imagine that we have different lines. Let's say this is the second line of the file. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and save this. Now let me run this. What do you think will happen? So let's run this application. We get hello world. This is Frizo, and then so it reads every content out of the file. Let's say you want to read each content line by line. So to read content line by line, we can use f dot read lines. So read line return to us a list of all this content of the list of so let's print this out so that you can actually see. Print f dot read lines. So just comment this out. So let's run this. So we get, as you see, we get a list, and each list is a line containing with a line break at its end containing those individual line. So each line is an element of that list. So we can look through this list and actually print it out on the screen. So you can say for line in f.read lines, you can say print line. So line, okay. So we are reading each content, all of the line into a list, and you're looping through that list and printing each line on its own. So you see, we get this. You get this white because of the line break. So I think we can use the strip. Okay, so I think they should remove those lines, extra spaces out. So let's try to run this. Yeah, you see, we get no of those other trailing line characters. Okay, so that's how you can read the files in text mode. Now let's work with binary mode. Over here, I'm just open up this is an Python logo image. Now this image is not a text, right? Because there are no words in here. It's not a text. This is a binary file. So let's say we want to copy this image from this file into another file. So we need first to open that file. So we say open. I called it image.jpeg. I think, yeah, image.jpeg. We want to open it in read binary. Read binary. So you can say we want to copy it into another file. So to copy into another file, we can just open up another file. We call it f2, which is equals to open. This one we call it image file.jpg. So this is supposed to be a text as a string. So you're going to be writing binary. Oh my god, this is supposed to be a string. Write binary. So we'll say f.read, which will be equals to let's call it image underscore data, image data, which will be whatever content that you have read from that file. So we're going to save it in f2. So f2.write data, image data rather. So you're going to read everything from every byte from this image file, and you're going to write it into file 2. So this will create another file for us called image file.jpg and contains our image. Okay, so let's run this and then we'll see what we get. So it is done. You can see here we have another file, and this file contains the same image as this one. So you can see these two files have the same image. So we have just copied the bytes from this file into this file. Okay, also the most important that you wrote is include the extension, because if you don't include the extension, this won't work. Okay, this is how you work with binary data and so on. Okay, now that you've opened this file, it is a very bad practice to open a certain resource and then don't close that resource, because you are wasting a lot of memory. Imagine that you're running on a server, you're opening resources and then you're not closing those resources, so those resources are taking up memory space. So it is very good practice that whenever you open a file, you also close that file. So to close a file that you have opened, we just say the name that you used to refer to that file and then .close. So this will close for us all our files. So whenever you open something, always remember to close it. So now it is very difficult for us to always remember to close files, right? So Python has sorted out this problem by using something known as a context manager. This will open up a file for you and close it for you as long as you are working outside of that block. So you just say with open, and then specify the file name. So file 1.txt, I think, txt, and then you want to read read text. You want to open it as F. Okay, so you say read open, the name of the file, and then as something. So we can say f dot read. So we say we just print this out on the screen. So print print, and then you can print out whatever we have read from that file. So whenever we work outside of this block, let's just script another print statement here. Hello. Okay, so whenever we're inside this block, this file will be open, but as long as we move outside that block, our file will be automatically closed for us, so we don't have to worry about closing a file. So that is how we use a context manager. So by the time we reach this print statement, our file is already closed because we're out of this wait block. So let's run this one more time, and you see our file gets closed. By the time we print this hello, our file is already closed. So that's how you work with context manager. You can do the same processes in here that we did as previous. You can change the mode and everything should work as usual. The only difference using this is that it closes for you the file without having you to close it, and it's a very good practice because if you're creating applications, it's very easy to forget to close a file. So context manager like this is going to close that file for you. Okay, so yeah, that's how you work with files in Python. So in the previous tutorial we discussed about packages and how to install packages in Python. So I have copied the Zen of Python and I have pasted it in here. So I want us to work a bit with this file. So I want us to create an application that is going to read to us the Zen of Python in Word. So to get this Zen of Python, we just simply say import this. The Zen of Python is just a principle on which Python was developed from all the founding like principles that Python was built off from. You can read more about it in Google. So this from here is a Zen of Python. So I've copied this text and pasted it inside of this file. So let's create a program that will actually read this for us in audio format. So to do this, we simply say import, like we did. We will import. If you didn't watch this tutorial, my tutorial on packages, you can go back and watch it where we worked over this package. So we are going to create the object 3.init. So we are going to read each line. So for line in, we need to open that file first. So to open it, I'll use a context manager. Read open. I call it file 3. I don't know why some reason today I'm forgetting to put this in file 3.txt in a string format. File 3.txt. We want to open it in read text mode. Okay, we want to open it as F. So in here we indent it. So for line in F dot read lines, and then engine dot same line engine dot run until wait, and then up here down here we'll close that engine dot stop. Okay, so that's our program. So if you run this right now, it's going to open for us our file 3, which contains the Zen of Python. It's going to read out each line by line. So we're going to take that line, we're going to pass it into our the engine. This package usually changes text into speech, so we're passing in whatever text you passed in here will be converted into speech. So we are going to take each line and we are going to convert into a speech, and then we run that way. So let's run this. So I'll just put my microphone closer to the speaker so that you guys can hear.
The Zen of Python, Python Peters. Beautiful is better than ugly. Explicit is better than implicit. Simple is better than complex. Complex is better than complicated. Flat is better than nested. Sparse is better than dense. Readability counts. Special cases aren't special enough to break the rules. Although practicality beats purity. Errors should never pass silently, unless explicitly silenced. In the face of ambiguity, refuse the temptation to guess. There should be one, and preferably only one, obvious way to do it. Although that way may not be obvious at first unless you're Dutch. Now is better than never. although never is often better than asterisk right asterisk now. If the implementation is hard to explain, it's a bad idea. If the implementation is easy to explain, it may be a good idea. Namespaces are one honking great idea. Let's do more of those.
Okay guys, so that is the Zen of Python put into a speech first. I thought this, many people, they just print this on the screen. I thought it would be fun if we could do something better than them. So this is how you can work with files in Python. So you just open a file, read the content out, change it into a speech. So imagine you could do even a program, create a program like this and copy it and paste in your emails, just to help read for your emails, to save you a lot of time. Sometimes it's boring to read those emails. So this is how you can work with files in Python. So this brings us to the end of this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we'll be going into more advanced Python. We'll be working with classes and objects. So don't forget to watch that video, and please like, share and subscribe to my channel if you find this content helpful. Thanks for watching.